In 2018, a young boxer from Miami stepped into the ring undefeated. 27 wins, 0 losses. The sports world called him the future. His Instagram followers multiplied by thousands every week. He appeared on magazine covers, morning shows, and podcasts. Every interview, he'd tell the world how he was the greatest ever, how no one could touch him, how he'd already won before stepping into the ring. His opponent, silent, not a single interview, no social media, just training videos leaked by his team. Round 1, our champion dances, plays to the crowd, showboats. His opponent watches, studies, waits. Round 2. The champion starts narrating his own fight, talking to his opponent, telling him how it's about to end. His opponent remains focused, silent. Round 3. It happened so fast, the cameras almost missed it. One calculated move, years of silent preparation, unleashed in a single moment. Our undefeated champion, the one who couldn't stop talking about his greatness, face down on the canvas. 2 careers took drastically different paths that night. The silent victor went on to become one of the most respected champions in the sport. The other, he lost 3 of his next 4 fights. His name faded faster than the bruises from that knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most powerful secret of sustained success. When you're winning, shut your mouth. You see, nature has already given us this lesson. The empty vessel makes the loudest noise, but the deep ocean, it moves in silence. Success leaves clues, but the most crucial clue is often the hardest to spot because it's wrapped in silence. Think about the most powerful people you know, the ones who truly hold influence. They understand something that took me years to learn. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it's the presence of power. Let's break down what happens in your brain when you achieve something significant. Your body floods with dopamine, that feel-good chemical that makes you want to shout from the rooftops. This biological response served our ancestors well. They needed to celebrate finding food or surviving danger. But in today's world, this same impulse can be your downfall. The most successful people among us have mastered what I call dopamine discipline. They've trained themselves to find satisfaction in the achievement itself, not in others' recognition of it. This is where the deep river principle comes into play. A shallow stream rushes and roars over rocks, making noise at every turn. But a deep river, it moves with such power that it doesn't need to announce itself. It shapes landscapes without a sound. When you operate in silence, you tap into an evolutionary advantage that's been forgotten in our social media age. Predators in nature don't announce their presence. They don't need to. Their power lies in their ability to move undetected until the perfect moment. There's a fascinating psychological phenomenon that occurs when you choose silence over celebration. People begin to wonder. They begin to watch more closely. Your silence creates a vacuum that others fill with their own assumptions, usually assumptions that work in your favor. This is the power of being underestimated. Consider the difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence whispers, "I can do this," and then does it. Arrogance shouts, "I'm the best," and expects applause. The truly confident person doesn't need external validation because they've already validated themselves through their actions. The psychology of silent success also taps into what behaviorists call strategic ambiguity. When you're not constantly explaining yourself, people have to judge you solely on your results. This creates a powerful dynamic where your actions speak so loudly that your words become unnecessary. But perhaps the most powerful psychological aspect of maintaining silence during success is the mental energy it preserves. Every time you talk about your achievements, you release a little bit of the drive that got you there. It's like opening a pressure valve. Keep that pressure contained, and it becomes the force that drives you to your next achievement. This isn't just philosophy, it's practical psychology. Studies have shown that people who prematurely announce their goals are less likely to achieve them. Why? Because talking about success creates a false sense of progress. Your brain gets a reward before you've actually completed the work. Stay silent, and that psychological need for completion keeps pushing you forward. The masters of silent success understand that true power lies not in being seen, but in seeing, not in being heard, but in hearing. They've learned that the quieter you become, the more you can observe, absorb, and ultimately achieve. Let me share with you what I call the 3 laws of silent achievement, principles so powerful that they can transform your entire approach to success. First, the law of magnetic humility. This law operates on a simple yet profound truth. True power doesn't need to announce itself. Think about gravity. It doesn't make a sound, yet it holds entire planets in orbit. That's how magnetic humility works. When you achieve something significant and choose to stay quiet about it, you create a force field that draws people toward you. I watched this law in action with a tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. While other startup founders were busy posting about every minor milestone, she quietly built her company. No TechCrunch interviews, no Twitter threads about her journey, just focused execution. When she finally launched her product, the industry wasn't just ready, they were hungry for it. Her silence had created curiosity, and that curiosity converted into millions in sales within the first month. This leads us to the second principle, the law of strategic invisibility. In nature, the most successful hunters aren't the ones with the loudest roar. They're the ones who master the art of moving unseen. In the world of achievement, your ability to work without broadcasting every move gives you an unmatched competitive advantage. Consider this. Every time you announce your moves, you give your competition a chance to counter them. Every time you post about your strategy, you're giving away your playbook. But when you operate under the radar, you maintain what military strategists call tactical surprise. You're not just protecting your innovations, you're preserving your power to shock the market. The most fascinating example of this law comes from the fashion industry. The most successful brands don't reveal their next season's designs until the perfect moment. They understand that timing isn't just important, it's everything. They're not being secretive, they're being strategic. Finally, we arrive at the law of compound respect. Just like compound interest in finance, respect grows exponentially when you let your achievements speak for themselves. Every time you resist the urge to boast, you add another layer to your reputation. Every victory you quietly pocket becomes part of your silent arsenal. Think about the mathematics of reputation for a moment. When you tell people you're great, they divide your actual value by 2, assuming you're exaggerating. But when others discover your achievements on their own, they multiply your value by 2, assuming there's even more they haven't discovered yet. I've seen this law transform careers. There was a sales professional who broke every record in her company, but never once mentioned it in meetings. Her colleagues discovered her achievements through quarterly reports. Soon, executives were asking her peers, what's her secret? Her silence turned her into a legend within the organization. Within 2 years, she was running the entire division. The compound effect of respect works because it operates on 2 levels simultaneously. First, it builds your external reputation. People begin to trust not just what you've done, but what you might do next. Second, it strengthens your internal confidence. You learn to find satisfaction in the achievement itself rather than the recognition it brings. These 3 laws work together to create what I call the silent achievement trinity. Magnetic humility draws opportunities toward you. Strategic invisibility gives you the space to execute without interference. And compound respect ensures that your influence grows exponentially over time. But here's the crucial part. These laws only work when they're applied consistently. You can't be silent only when it's convenient. You can't choose humility only when you feel like it. The power lies in the pattern, in the consistent choice to let your work speak louder than your words. The beauty of these laws is that they're self-reinforcing. The more you practice magnetic humility, the easier it becomes to maintain strategic invisibility. The more you stay invisible while building, the faster your respect compounds. It's a success spiral that feeds on silence. Let's talk about the forces that can destroy everything you've built. the silent assassins of success that creep in when you least expect them. I call these the 5 silent destroyers, and understanding them is crucial to maintaining your position at the top. The first destroyer is premature celebration. Listen carefully, because this one is subtle. It's not just about popping champagne too early. It's about the tiny moments when you let your guard down because you think you've made it. I watched a brilliant startup founder lose everything because of this. His company had just secured $10 million in funding. Instead of focusing on execution, he spent the next 3 months on a victory tour, speaking at conferences about how he disrupted his industry. 6 months later, his main competitor launched a superior product. By the time he refocused, it was too late. The market had moved on. The second destroyer is even more dangerous in today's world: social media addiction. This isn't just about posting too much, it's about the compulsive need to document every win. Every time you post about your success, you're feeding a beast that gets hungrier with each bite. You start measuring your achievements not by their actual impact, but by their likability. I've seen executives spend more time crafting the perfect LinkedIn post about their strategy than actually implementing it. Your social media presence becomes a highlight reel that drains the energy needed for your next breakthrough. The third destroyer cuts deep: the need for validation. This is the invisible thread that unravels even the strongest success stories. When you constantly seek approval from others, you're giving away your power. Every time you explain your success, you're unconsciously asking for permission to be successful. Think about that. The moment you start justifying your victories, you're suggesting they need justification. Fourth on our list is the urge to prove others wrong. This destroyer masks itself as motivation, but it's actually a poison. When you achieve success just to prove your doubters wrong, you're still letting them control your narrative. I knew a talented athlete who was so focused on proving his critics wrong that he forgot to listen to his body's signals. He pushed too hard, got injured, and lost his peak performance years to rehabilitation. Your success should be about your vision, not your vindication. The fifth and final destroyer is what I call the illusion of permanence. This is the dangerous belief that once you've reached the top, you can start talking about how you got there. Success isn't a destination you reach. It's a position you must continuously defend. The moment you start believing your success is unshakable is the moment it begins to crumble. Here's what makes these destroyers so dangerous. They don't attack you when you're down. They strike when you're at your peak. They don't come at you with the roar of a lion. They creep in with the silence of a snake. They don't challenge your ability. They challenge your character. But here's the real truth about these destroyers. They all stem from the same root: the belief that success needs an audience to be real. They all push you to trade your long-term power for short-term validation. Every time you give in to these destroyers, you're exchanging something permanent for something temporary. Think about the most respected person in your field, the one person whose opinion really matters. Now ask yourself, how often do they talk about their achievements? How often do they feel the need to remind others of their success? That's silence you're thinking about. That's not an accident. That's power. The antidote to these destroyers isn't more success. It's not better achievement. It's not higher goals. The antidote is understanding that true power moves in silence. It's realizing that your achievements don't need a spotlight to be significant. They don't need an audience to be authentic. They don't need validation to be valuable. Success without a solid internal foundation is like building a skyscraper on sand. Let me share with you what I call the silent builder's blueprint, the framework that turns silent achievement into lasting power. Let's start with internal validation systems. Think of this as building your own personal success meter. Most people make a critical mistake. They use other people's reactions as their measuring stick. But what happens when the applause stops? What happens when the likes don't come? Your entire sense of achievement crumbles. Instead, you need to build self-trust through what I call private victories. These are the achievements that no one else knows about. The extra hour of preparation when everyone else has gone home. The project you perfected not because someone was watching, but because your own standards demanded it. I worked with a chef who spent 5 years perfecting a single dish before ever putting it on his menu. Today, that dish has made his restaurant world famous, but he still spends hours tweaking it. Not for the critics, but for himself. Your personal metrics should be harder to achieve than any external validation. Create benchmarks that would impress even you. When you hit them, document them privately. Build a success journal that only you will ever read. This becomes your internal compass, far more reliable than the shifting winds of public opinion. Next, let's talk about energy conservation principles. Every time you explain your success, you're spending energy that could be invested in creating more success. It's like opening a pressure valve. You release the very force that drives you forward. Think about a rocket ship. It doesn't waste fuel showing off on the launch pad. It conserves every ounce of energy for breaking through the atmosphere. The power leak of constant explanation is real. Every time you stop to tell someone how you're succeeding, you're taking energy away from actually succeeding. Every social media post about your journey is energy that could have been invested in the journey itself. This isn't about being antisocial, it's about being strategic with your energy investment. The final component of our blueprint is strategic communication timing. This is the art of knowing not just what to say, but when to say it. Timing transforms ordinary communication into power moves. The key is understanding the 3 moments when speaking actually multiplies your power rather than diminishing it. First, speak when your silence might be misinterpreted as weakness. There are moments when standing your ground requires your voice. But even then, use words like currency. Spend them wisely and sparingly. Second, speak when your experience can genuinely save someone else years of struggle. This isn't about showing off. It's about selective mentorship. Choose these moments carefully. Make them rare enough to be meaningful. Third, speak when your voice can amplify the success of others. This is the only time when talking about success actually creates more success. But notice, it's not about your success. It's about lifting others. The most crucial part of strategic communication is knowing what to keep private. Your next moves, your technical advantages, your key relationships, these are your power sources. Protect them like a grandmaster protects their best chess strategies. This blueprint works because it creates a self-reinforcing cycle. Strong internal validation eliminates the need for constant external validation. Energy conservation creates more resources for achievement. Strategic timing ensures that when you do speak, people listen. Remember, the greatest builders throughout history didn't narrate while they built. They didn't live stream their process. They focused entirely on the creation itself. Your blueprint should be the same, focused on building, not broadcasting. The plan I've shared isn't just a strategy. It's a complete rewiring of how you approach success. It's about building something so solid that it doesn't need announcement, so valuable that it doesn't need promotion, so powerful that it speaks for itself. Let me share with you one of the most fascinating paradoxes in human psychology, how silence fundamentally changes the power dynamics in every room you enter. This is what I call the power shift. And once you understand it, you'll never look at communication the same way again. When you achieve success and choose to stay silent about it, something remarkable happens. People begin to fill your silence with their own positive assumptions. It's like creating a vacuum that others rush to fill with their own interpretations, usually interpretations that work in your favor. Let me break down what happens during this power shift. First, your measured words become weighted with meaning. Think about currency. When something is rare, its value increases. The same happens with your words. Someone who speaks constantly dilutes their impact. But when the successful person who rarely speaks finally opens their mouth, the whole room leans in. I witnessed this transformation with a senior executive I mentored. She was brilliant, but originally felt compelled to remind everyone of her achievements in every meeting. We worked on a different approach. She began speaking only when she could add significant value and never about her own successes. Within 3 months, people were quoting her brief statements in other meetings. Within 6 months, junior executives were asking to shadow her. She hadn't changed her competence. She had changed her communication. The psychological impact of measured words creates what I call the depth perception. When you don't reveal everything about your success, people assume there's much more beneath the surface. It's like an iceberg. The visible part suggests much more power hidden below. Here's where it gets really interesting. Selective communication actually builds mystique. But this isn't about being mysterious for the sake of it. It's about understanding that every piece of information you withhold creates potential energy. Every achievement you don't broadcast becomes a card you can play when the timing is right. The ultimate power shift happens when people begin to search for your achievements instead of you announcing them. When others start telling your success stories for you, you've achieved what I call success momentum. Your reputation starts growing without your direct input. Your influence expands while you focus on your next achievement. This shift transforms not just how others perceive you, but how you operate in the world. You're no longer working for recognition. You're working for results. The external validation that once seemed so important becomes irrelevant compared to the actual impact you're making. Let's turn these principles into actionable steps. I'm going to give you what I call the Silent Success Protocol, a practical framework you can start implementing today. First, the 30-day silence challenge. For the next month, commit to 0 posts about your achievements on social media. No subtle hints, no humble brags, no sharing of wins. Instead, channel that energy into your daily success journal. Document every win, every breakthrough, every lesson, but keep it private. This journal becomes your personal evidence of progress, free from external validation. Create what I call a silent support system. These are 3 trusted advisors who you can share your journey with. Not for validation, but for objective feedback. They're your reality check, your strategic soundboard. Choose these people carefully. They need to be success-focused, not attention-focused. Master the art of deflecting praise. When someone compliments your achievement, learn to redirect the spotlight. The team made it possible, or there's still more to accomplish, are your new default responses. This isn't about false modesty. It's about maintaining strategic silence. Implement the 48-hour rule. Any major achievement, sit on it for 48 hours before telling anyone outside your silent support system. This cooling off period helps you avoid the trap of premature celebration and gives you time to plan your next move. Remember, this isn't about becoming a recluse. It's about becoming selective with your communication. Strategic, purposeful. Every word you don't say becomes power you can use later. You see, your next level of success is waiting in your silence. It's growing in the quiet moments when you choose focus over fame, preparation over promotion, results over recognition. Every time you resist the urge to broadcast your achievement, you're banking power for your next breakthrough. The loudest success isn't always the strongest. The most celebrated victory isn't always the most significant. And the most powerful person in the room isn't the one talking about their power. Your next victory is already within you. It's growing stronger with every moment you choose silence over showmanship, substance over spectacle, impact over impression. Let them wonder, let them guess, let them talk.